One really troubling thing that hopefully has ended as quickly as it started, is there was a 4-game span this week where the Tigers committed 9 errors, and
Yikes.
that contributed to several of their losses. So that is something a team that does not score many runs cannot tolerate. That cannot happen. They've played good defense most of the season until that 4-game stretch was just brutal. And it was everybody. It was the infield, it was the outfield, it was Torque. I think Baez only had 1 error, which he's had a really good defensive year, which is very different over the last couple years. His footwork has been really poor and lazy. That has not been the case most of this season, which is refreshing to see. But it didn't stop Tigers fans last weekend, 2 weekends ago, from actually booing Javi Baez as he is off to another terrible start. Worst OPS in baseball, which is consistent with what he's done in his first 2 seasons as a Tiger. Javi did hit a home run a week ago Sunday against the Twins, at which point he had certainly noticed his home crowd booing him. He cupped his ear to the crowd as he was rounding the bases, and it became kind of a big story that he clearly doesn't appreciate being booed. It's happened. He's actually said it's happened throughout his career. Uh, it certainly happens on the south side of Chicago, which is very understandable. But similar situation happened to him when he was in New York, when he was traded to the Mets before he eventually came to the Tigers, where there was incidents where he and Francisco Lindor had certain hand gestures, kind of giving it back to the crowd who was giving it to them, their home crowd. So it has been an issue throughout his career. It doesn't seem to affect him adversely, because from that game where he was booed by his hometown crowd, he has an 853 OPS, which would be the best stretch, probably best week of his Tigers career. He has 2 stolen bases, 4 RBI. That home run I mentioned earlier, he seems to feed off the boos. So I would suggest to Tigers fans, I think it's kind of crummy to be booing your own players, but sometimes it's necessary, and I think it's almost a benefit to Javi. If he hears it from his crowd, it becomes a motivating factor. We've seen that on the south side of Chicago, where he's booed mercilessly. He usually does pretty well. He had the game winning run against the White Sox on opening day after being mercilessly booed. I think it's a kick in the ass that he needs potentially. So he did have a good quote about this I wanted to bring up. He said, "I've been booed pretty much my whole career. I know it's frustrating for the fans, but I think that doesn't really help the team and the organization. I think if we grind together, we should stand up together. We should stay together when we're down." And I really don't have much to argue with there. I think those are probably the right sentiments. I think he wanted to say something about the crowd. The reporters were asking him how he felt about being booed, which he couldn't feel too positive about. But he didn't really scold the fans or go back at the fans or say anything like that. But I think the best part of all this is it's clearly affected his play in a positive way going forward. So I think I need to endorse Tiger fans boo Javi every time up. Maybe it'll become like a rallying cry. Maybe it's an ironic boo even when he's playing really well. Boo him, he loves it. Maybe that's the new cheer for Javy.
I'll tell you what, when I get up there for my first Tigers game and we go Tigers games down here this year, I will boo Javi
Yeah.
Baez. I will be part of your experiment. I'm willingly able to take on. Hey,
I'm all for it. I might be right there with you.
Word Hole Media.